Hello, everyone. I realized I do this whole intro and then nobody shows up until it's 10 or 15 minutes in. And then they miss this whole intro where I'm just amusing myself for 10 minutes. Hi. Okay, we got some people. Cool. Welcome to the Hot Girl Agenda. I'm Ra Imler. I'm your host. We have a really, really cool show tonight. I didn't intend it for this to be an abolition type show where that was the main subject, but it just so happened that I had some really cool activists that I was able to secure some interviews with. So we have Danielle Shenzes. I'm definitely saying her name wrong. She's from Gainesville, Florida. I actually known her for a really, really long time. I used to live in Gainesville. And I knew her from the activist community there. So we're going to get her on the line. We're also going to interview Kat B from Dark Atlanta. And it's Defund the APD Refund Communities. It's a new initiative that's being launched by Metro Atlanta, Democratic Socialists of America, and a bunch of other organizations are signing on to it as well. So yeah, we have a really cool show, but also for our first segment, hang on, let me just sip my wine real quick. Glass check. I'm on my rosé bullshit. Yeah, I'm on my rosé bullshit right now. So everyone's got their drink. Everyone's got, wow, we have a lot of viewers. Very cool. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce, oh wait, I forgot to do my updates. Okay, I'm going to try this new thing where I give you updates about my week or whatever and tell you things I'm excited about, and then we launch into panel. So I'm just kind of experimenting with the segment tonight. So this is my catching up for the week segment. So what have I been up to this week? Well, with organizing stuff, I recently left the steering committee for our Metro Atlanta DSA chapter. I didn't leave on bad terms or anything. It was just a new steering committee was taking over for the new year. And basically I'm still a harassment grievance officer for my chapter, which is a really sucky job. Don't do it. I'm trying to convince them to pay for somebody to do it. But I've been working on restorative justice stuff to kind of integrate into our chapter. And it's very boring and it's very draining work and it's not very interesting. So I won't spend too much time talking about it. Other updates in my life. I recently okay, so 2 months ago, I ordered InstaSmile veneers, and they just got here, and they're clip-in veneers. So I was going to show you what those look like. So this is what they look like. These clip-in veneer thingies. And basically, they take a mold of your teeth, and then they make it with some 3D model kind of shit. But it took a really fucking long time to get them made, because I had to do the impression twice, and then I failed the other impression they gave me for the bottom half, and I failed that 2 times, and I had to do the process all over again. And then I ended up getting frustrated and not doing the bottom half because I could not get the impression right. But then they just finish it, and it takes 21 days if you don't want to express order it. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by InstaSmile. I'm not an influencer. I'm not nearly that cool. I literally just I'm very self-conscious about my teeth. So my whole life I've been self-conscious about my teeth. So I got these, and I'll show you what they look like. Hang on. Kennedy's in the green room right now, but is this an interesting segment, Kennedy? Just me? Yeah, we'll get the verdict. How do y'all feel about it? Okay. I'm gonna put these in really quick. So this is the stupid part, because they look pretty good, right? But then you talk and you sound like this, and it's very strange, and you have to learn how to speak all over again, which is why I've only worn them twice. And it feels kind of weird, you have chiclet teeth at first. I have very small teeth, so I feel like I have chiclet teeth. I'm I don't know if this was worth it, but if you have like really bad gaps in your teeth and you want better pictures or something, just get them. They're cool. They're kind of expensive though, but anyway, I can't even talk with them in. That's how ridiculous they are. Ah! And then they pop out. Not exactly popping out easily, but anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to like read comments and do this at the same time. I'm still really bad at multitasking on live stream. But yeah, so that was the Insta Smile veneers. What else am I looking for? What else is happening in my life that I need to tell you about? Oh, something very important that's happening in my life and the lives of K-pop fans everywhere is the Blackpink documentary is coming out on Netflix, and I'm like super, super excited about it. And if y'all like K-pop, you're already aware of this, but I really love me some K-pop. I love Blackpink. I think they're so cute and talented. And if I was like a 13-year-old girl, I'd be completely obsessed with them. I'm only marginally obsessed with them right now. But anyway, I think I want to do a whole K-pop episode because I had someone who's going to put me in touch with a K-pop expert. They study it academically. So I'm really excited about that. So I guess I will jump into our first segment and bring in our two guests. We have Kennedy Cooper and Keamy Nichols. How are you?
Oh.
Hey.
How's your mic, Keamy?
Ooh, it's kind of muddy.
Let me take this down.
Oh, I can. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Okay. So thank you both for being on the panel. I know I kind of asked you guys like kind of last minute, but I wanted to talk to some comedian adjacent people in the scene, people in the know about the whole Bill Burr SNL monologue thing. Which is funny because I asked like 4 different people about it. About coming on the show, and 2 of them, that the 2 that weren't y'all, were like, I don't really know about it. I'm just like, what? So you guys were the most online, I think, because I see both of you online so much. So congrats on being the most online, and you get to talk about it on stream. Oh shit!
I congratulations to us, I guess. Also, I don't understand someone saying though that they don't know about it. It's a 7-minute monologue. Like, you just go watch it.
That's what I did because I hadn't seen it, so I went and watched it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, truthfully, I didn't even watch the whole thing until today.
Same. I wasn't gonna admit it till you did, Rara.
Because that thing that happens when you're on Twitter, when you have like hive Twitter brain, where you like something happens in the news and you don't watch it, but you can picture it exactly in your head how it went down, based on the people tweeting about it. And it's some kind of like thing that happens in your brain where I'm sure there's probably a study on it or something, where you just get word association and like your imagination is activated, and whatever like things are firing neurologically are just like and like recreating this picture in your head. Yeah, that's what it's like. Y'all know.
I think that's too much. When you said you're always online, I was like, oh no. I've been seen.
I felt like I've seen Bill Burr a few times. So I kind of felt like I knew what this was relatively going to be, and relatively I did. Like, I watched it and I was like, yep, this is, confirming what I expected to see.
Yeah, like I don't know. I wasn't expecting anything different. And also his gay joke that everyone was like the most mad about, I feel like that was like people were really like wounded by. I was like, I don't think that was really that big, like that extreme for him, even because I've seen a lot of his other stuff, and it's like, yeah, he's a loud, annoying guy from Boston or whatever, and that's how they are. Like, it's nothing crazy.
He's what we in the biz call dirtbag.
Yeah. He's like he's a dirtbag comic, but he's good at what he does. I mean, he is fair. He like fires in all directions. You know, he is like, as far as guys like that, it does it better than almost anybody. You know, he can get away with it for the most part. Keamy, were you a Bill Burr fan before this?
I actually no.
No.
No. I watched him do his monologue, and that was like the first time I'd ever seen him do anything. And I was like, oh, he's funny. He reminds me of Dave Chappelle in the way where he just like goes after it directly. He doesn't play around. He's like, nope, here we are. We're going to talk about this. And like,
yeah. He's very straightforward. I appreciate his approach, even if it's like, some of it makes me just like, ugh. Yeah. But I just want to like break it down, some of these like zingers that he had. So in part of the way through the monologue, he had this whole thing about people trying to cancel John Wayne. And I'm like, okay, I don't even remember seeing that online. So I don't even know. Do you all remember John Wayne getting canceled? Like, I don't remember that discourse at all.
Described us as very online, and nope.
Exactly. And I'm like, where is John Wayne coming from? Because the last ridiculous canceling somebody tried to do, if you guys remember, was the Genghis Khan. Like the girl that was trying to cancel Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
As like, I was like some 19-year-old communist or something. And like, I'm probably getting that way wrong. People are going to be really mad, but whatever. It was like some 19-year-old college student that was just like, Genghis Khan is problematic and some of you worship him. And it's like, who the fuck is worshiping Genghis Khan?
No one.
On Twitter in 2020. No. Keamy, did you see any of this?
No, I don't know of Twitter that is.
No, this was some ridiculous, like this was one of those things where it like crossed over to like multiple Twitter verses. So I was sure that everyone had heard of it. But the canceling John Wayne thing, yeah, that was like a really weird reference because I don't remember any of that. So I'm just like, maybe he's just hanging out with like some really old people or something. But that, yeah, I don't know. It was funny. That
was actually, this is one of the reasons that I didn't watch the monologue yet. Because I'm actually slightly, like not hardcore, but I'm a slight Bill Burr hater. Now to be clear, if I just like met him somewhere and he's just, sitting around smoking joints and drinking beer and he's like, hey, Kennedy, sit down. I'm sure that I'd have a great time with him. I want to be clear, about what kind of person that I think he is. I don't think he's a person that I would be uncomfortable to spend time with. I think that he's a person, though, that like I don't agree with a lot of his recent takes in like the last few years. And like that cancel culture bit was just like, it's so funny, too, because he goes from that to canceling people himself. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like that bit. It was like he was basically daring you to contradict him, to like point out the contradiction, though, because like that's kind of what he does, is just like set it up and knock it down like that. And usually does a joke that's pretty like self-effacing to balance it out.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. That's kind of like my approach to comedy too. Like, I don't think I say anything wildly offensive, but I definitely do some stuff that's a little bit out there, but I try to like preface it by like making fun of myself, because it's just like, like it's like your armor as a comedian, right? I mean, Keamy, you have bits like that too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Those are really well thought out, planned things. Like, oh, I'm about to say something. I'm going to offend this group of people. I'm going to make them feel like I will attack myself as well. Like we're in this.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I did not really introduce you properly. Keamy is a comedian in Atlanta. That's how we know each other. That's why we're so comfortable with each other. It's not just some random person. I was like, come on my show. We're buddies. But yeah, Keamy, how have you been dealing with quarantine and everything? I haven't really chatted with you that much since this whole thing started.
At first, I was inside, scared, crying. I wish that was a lie.
Relatable.
Looking out the window like, when are the zombies coming? And then it kind of, I guess Atlanta really got over it really quickly. So adapting back to going to work and being around people and trying to do all of that, and then knowing that like we're doing something completely different than anywhere else. Like everyone else is like still going in and protecting themselves, and we're just like out here. It's been a little trying. I will say, like, emotionally it's been up and down, but it's you know, I mean, it's happening. So.
Yeah, the world keeps turning. I think that's what's the most scary about it, though, is like everyone just wants us to go back to normal, and it doesn't ever feel normal because it's not. But it's like everyone's trying so hard to make it like, yeah, it's fun, outdoor dining, yay. And it's like, if you have to go to work every day, like you just are in a different mindset. Like everything feels a lot more dangerous and like risky and shit. Even just like going to the store, like I found myself going to the store for something random the other day, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I shouldn't be here right now, right? Like you feel weird about doing like little things you always used to do, even though everyone else has kind of like gone back to doing that. Yeah, not to get all bleak and shit. Damn. No, well,
good times, fun times.
So Keamy, have you done any like in-person shows since this whole thing started?
I got like
two of them. How have they been?
So the first one was cool. It was like a little bit more, it was, I think like when we first started opening things back up, so it was a lot less people.
Yeah.
And then the second one was a little bit scary because now we're open, and so doing the show, people knew about it. They came in like droves, and it just, I ended up doing my set, and then immediately going outside.
Yeah.
Went from outside to the stage and then back outside. So it was a little uncomfy, but it's also something that I don't do a lot of, so I can't necessarily say like what other people are experiencing when they're going to shows and doing a lot of shows.
Right. Yeah, I've been really back and forth, like not really back and forth, but like I was really harshly critical of people doing in-person shows for a while, and I still kind of am pretty critical. Not like of like you personally or anything. I just mean like in general, like people trying to do that in like major cities and stuff, like showrunners. I was like, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea, y'all. Like, especially because like comedians are also, you know, we have a lot of people that have like antisocial disorders and shit like that. Like people that are just going to be desperate, like, and also like people that are extroverts that have not been out for a long time and then like putting themselves at risk to do stage time. And it's like, I don't think we should be encouraging that right now. Like people are weird. And it's like, also you're attracting people to your shows that like are not necessarily concerned with everybody else's health and shit. And, you know, comedy audiences in general in like mainstream clubs and stuff can be like really cruel and shitty. And it's like, I don't even know what, it just is so weird because I haven't done comedy since March. Like this is super weird. I'm sorry, I'm talking so much, but I did the Bands for Bernie show back in March. And that was the last time I did stand up. And that was in like March 6th. So I haven't even like written a joke since March. And like, I haven't performed live since March. So it's a really weird feeling because it's like I've been a performer all my life. And like Kennedy, like, have you ever done like live performance or anything like that? I feel like I should know this about you.
Yeah. I started doing community theater at a really young age and did that all the way, like theater and some comedy stuff, improv, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff, you know, stuff that's fun to do, but like no one should go see barely some of it. Like
it's really for the people involved.
Improv, especially, I feel that way about. Some of the other theater I did was more serious and actually pretty good. But yeah, so I've done a lot of live performance and also music as well.
Were you doing that before COVID? Like, were you still in it right before COVID?
Not in particular, but I was planning to do some things well, first of all, Not Safe for Wonks was going to tour. I don't know if I've told you that before.
No, Brandon mentioned this to me.
Yeah. So Not Safe for Wonks was going to tour, have our first like small tour this year. And one of our friends shows that's a very cool, popular show. I'm not gonna name drop them, but I'm just gonna say that.
What does it rhyme with?
It rhymes with street fight.
Sick. Actually, I almost got to book a show for them during the DSA convention, which is the dorkiest fucking sentence I spoke all year.
So those guys, like, we've been talking with them about touring together even, and so like we were really excited to like do some touring this year and stuff and like try to set that up, and then that obviously has not happened. And like that was like, we had a whole growth strategy for the show, one step of which was going to be touring over the summer. And
you're telling me,
yeah.
I had to cancel my whole thing I had going on to go back to Guam. I had like shows lined up. I was going to be doing like really impromptu comedy workshops because there's like no comedy there. And I was like, just going to get my friends who are interested to just come and like workshop with jokes with me and like just try to form a community within my community. And I had like shows lined up, and we had like sponsors lined up and everything. I had like a freaking badass like flyer for it. And then COVID happened and I had to like cancel the whole trip. And it was a nightmare. But that was like, and like I had all this stuff going on. I was like, had plans to tour in the summer. I don't want to be like an asshole and be like, COVID ruined my whole career trajectory. But it's like, I feel like there's quite a few people in Atlanta comedy that feel that way right now.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, yeah, everything kind of just like fell apart. Like everyone else's lives. So it's like, you know, you can't even feel too bad about it, right? Because it's like everyone's going through the same shit. So it's like, it feels equally shitty for everybody at the moment. Like as far as just, you know, being a fucking millennial and shit. Well, Keamy, you're not a millennial. You're a Zoomer, right?
No.
Oh.
I'm a millennial.
I don't know why. I always thought you were like 22 or something. You're just...
I'm 28.
Nice. You're almost on the other side.
Oh, 30.
It's great over here. You should try it. It's fun.
Yeah, I turned 30 this year, and
30 Club. This is what you do when you turn 30. This is what you do. That's the move. 28's great. 28 was like one of the best years of my fucking life. So you're gonna be fine. I mean, it's COVID. Shit, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. Fuck.
Like, well.
So Keamy, like, what do you think is going to be the next trend in comedy, seeing as we're not going to be getting a vaccine anytime soon? Like, there's like the Zoom calls and everything. What do you think is like the next big comedy thing they try to do to just keep it alive?
In my opinion,
yeah. TikTok?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. A lot of comedy on TikTok.
That makes sense. Who are some of your favorite comics on TikTok? I am not a TikTok person, so I don't know any of them.
There's this girl, Katie Florence. She's funny. She's a comic on TikTok. I can't think of anyone specific, like a specific name. I would have to like be on TikTok and looking at them, but there's some strong contenders, and they're not stand-ups either. Like, they're just funny people who can use that 60 seconds to be really creative.
Right.
And that's our new competition as comedians, are these people who have just a phone and 60 seconds of material
I mean, but in a way that I kind of like the low barrier to entry for that, because, you know, you don't even have to have a particularly good phone. It just has to be it's more like about timing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like you can have a pretty shitty cell phone camera like TikTok, and it could be like the funniest fucking thing you've ever seen. And that's what I really like about it, is just it's so accessible. That's what I really liked about Twitter, is it felt accessible. They're doing a lot right now with the algorithms to make it harder to be visible if you don't have like a blue check. But like that format when it first came out was super promising, right? Because it was like, okay, you just got to be funny, and like, well, it used to be like 300 characters, right? Or is it 140? How long has it been 140?
It used to be 140, and now it's 280.
Oh, it's 280. Okay, yeah. So it's like at first you only had like 140 characters to be funny, right? Or get your point across. So it was great if you were trying to learn like word economy, and if you were trying to work out bits where you just wanted something like shorter and punchier, and just to get like you only had like a 3-minute spot or something, so you just had to do as many jokes as possible. And that's how I got good at those short, snappy jokes. But I started really long-winded, so I had to relearn how to write jokes longer after I got good at writing shorter jokes, if that makes any sense.
That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like Limerick lightning round prepared me for TikTok. Like, 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
1 minute, done.
Limerick comedy. Wait, was that show still going pre-COVID? Okay, because it was. Yeah, okay. I think I did it maybe once this year. Yeah, that would be like the show you go to when you were like coked out of your brains and you're like, why the fuck not on a Tuesday, right? But that does not, like, because I'm a responsible human being, that didn't happen to me very often. So I did not find myself out at 11:30 in Virginia Highlands on a Tuesday most of the time.
So
even when I worked like right down the street, I never went to that show. I went a couple times and did the showcase and did lightning rounds, but I'm such a fucking boomer. Like, I need my 8 hours of beauty sleep. I'm a spoiled fucking baby about it these days. Like,
yeah.
If I don't get it, I get really pissed, and I'm like in a bad mood all day. So I have to get my stupid like 8 hours of sleep. Can't wait till there's a pill for that, because I hate sleeping.
A pill to replace sleeping.
Oh, I wish. God, that'd be so cool.
I think YouTube sketches are making a comeback.
You think so?
Yeah, I think like YouTube sketch comedy kind of fell off for a while. Where like there was like in the early days of YouTube, like YouTube sketch comedy like became this really strong thing that like even helped propel people like, you know, Donald Glover to fame. And you know, and a few other like big names.
Like Drunk History as well.
Right. Yes, for sure. So like I think that like that was like a big thing for like a little while, and then it became this thing where it's like everybody's a YouTube sketch comedian, everybody's doing that. A lot of these sketches are just bad, you know, and like no one's really interested. So like it kind of fell off for a while and it didn't really seem like there were a lot of people like making quality sketches or putting like time into that really on YouTube. But it like lately it seems like that's in a bit of a resurgence, and it seems like, you know, with COVID in particular, you know, those people can keep doing what they're doing for the most part. A lot of them didn't have to change what they were doing at all, you know. Whereas
it's low risk, there's not really that many people involved. You use a small production team.
Yeah, it's like if it's like, okay, we have a cameraman and 2 actors, you know, like doing some comedy or whatever, that's 3 people. That's, you know, that's not like a high risk, you know, like, so a lot of them felt justified to just keep doing that. And like, they kind of were, I mean, really, like, you know, it's like, so, and, you know, they're just filming in their apartment or whatever, like they normally do again. So it's like all these things, it's like, we're talking about a lot of people had to change their model, but it's like their model was actually like ready for this, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like the same with streaming. Like, I think I never really had too much of an interest in streaming until I suddenly couldn't do any kind of like live performance. And then I was like, well, this is the thing that makes me happy. I love live performance. I love improvisation. I love just chatting with people. It's like one of my favorite things to do is to be on podcasts and just talk about shit. And I was like, well, I got to do something. So I'll just try to start a stream. Right. But I don't think anybody realizes how hard this shit is. Like, I dedicated my whole day to this today, and I still was like running around in like 5 minutes just being like, what do I do? Like, like maybe I could set up my mic differently. What am I fucking doing? Stop. But like, it's hard, man. Finding guests for things, like it's awkward asking people for stuff. Like it's awkward asking people to come on your podcast. That's why I ask my friends first. I'm just like, I know you guys like me, so you won't judge me if I'm a total idiot.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. A lot of work goes into this stuff. It is a relatively speaking easier job than some other things. Like, don't mistake it. But yeah, like, it can be pretty stressful, and like, especially, you know, trying to like jump into it right now. Everybody's doing it. You know, so how do you stand out in this moment when everyone's starting a podcast and everyone's streaming something and everyone's doing that now?
You invite hot chicks. Wait, where are y'all? There you go.
This side.
We invite hot chicks. That's how we do it. We thirst trap them. And then we inject them with good politics and good takes. And we say, go, be in the world. No. Well, Keamy, you're a good poster, by the way. If people are not following Keamy, follow her on Twitter, because you're a good poster and you deserve more followers. You have some like brilliant stuff that gets like 2 likes, and I'm like, hello. So this is what this podcast is for, is to identify all the baddest bitches online, get some eyes on them, on their projects, what they're doing, and watch them thrive, right?
Yes.
So, Keamy, you have a plant Instagram now, right? That you're trying to like. Is this not something you want to promote? Because I wasn't sure.
I can. It's just, okay, so I like plants, and we're currently sitting in the rehabilitation room for my plants. So that's why I was like,
oh, wow.
Like,
do you have like a webcam where you can show us your plants?
So they're in my room in the other room, but I have one right here that I can show you. This one has been successfully rehabilitated, kind of.
That's cute.
Kind of. Yeah. It's doing okay. There's one behind the camera. It's not doing well. And I could go on and on about what happened, but it would be very boring.
Okay. It's okay. I feel Kennedy, do you have houseplants?
Not a ton. I have like a little patio garden with some like practical, like some like herbs and strawberries and stuff.
Ooh.
Nice. And I do that. I've put more time into that. Or I should say we, because my partner actually puts more work into that than me most of the time this year, especially. So shouts out.
Yeah. Mine are pretty sad too. My balcony plants are terrible.
Most of my plants are pretty happy though. Like, and I have like a big Thai basil that I love and some stuff like that. And yeah.
Mine are alive and they're very green, but it's like, because I don't get full sun in my back patio or like, you know, my fire escape, I have like 2 peppers that are just like these really tall stalks with like a bunch, like some leaves on them. And then I have like a rosemary that has like 2 really long stalks with like 2 leaves on them each. But they're all green, and they've just been like that for months. And I keep moving them and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, like trying to get them in the full sun. And they're just like pathetic looking. And I cannot do any. I'm almost like about ready to give up on them and like toss them in like the forest near my place.
Oh no.
And leave it to nature, because I'm so frustrated. I don't have like a green thumb at all. And I'm pissed because I really want to. I really want to be like a plant person, because my brother is a plant person and his wife is a plant person and my mom is a plant person. And I'm just like the only one that's not. Yeah, I'm feeling like a lot of familial pressure.
You can do it. I'm gonna boost you up, Rara. You can do it. You can be a plant person. Okay.
I'm gonna try my best.
Let me tell you something. Even
that?
me, that's some good
Neem
shit.
oil.
It's it is like it's like an insecticide.
Okay.
Pest. That's the first thing that you should get, and like fertilizer and a bottom watering tray. Hold on.
That is good to know.
One of these.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I just have them in pots outside, and they just drain right out into the drain or whatever. Like, yeah, this is how I'm living my life. Like, I'm trying, damn it.
Like, other plants are looking at your plants like, damn, you live like this?
Yeah. My neighbor's plants are looking at mine like they're like anthropomorphic eyes, and they're just like, wow, they are being abused over there. Like, what is her deal? Is she a meth head? Like, what's going on there?
No.
But if people walked out there at 8:30 in the morning and they would see me like trying to figure out what's going on, like watering it, like checking the soil, just like they would know that I'm a good plant mom.
Even the best of us fail sometimes. I killed a lemon tree that I had for years that I loved in a very stupid manner.
What did you do?
I left it in this spot where it was like basically by the air conditioner vent over the winter because it didn't matter. And then the air conditioner got turned on, and it took only 2 days of that blasting heat coming out of the air conditioner vent to just kill it. So,
oh no.
it was quite the tragedy.
I used to work in a nursery, and when I lived in Gainesville, Florida, it was like my summer side hustle, and the nursery was right next to the restaurant I worked at, so it was perfect. So I could do like double shifts. And I used to get like 40% off of like everything in the nursery. So I was like a really good plant person for a while because I was learning so much just by asking all the employees like a really, really annoying questions all the time. And sorry, I need to stop checking the comments while I'm looking at this. But yeah, like I got so much plants that summer, and I even like made my own herb beds and stuff. And like I had like a really nice orchid. I had like an African violet. I had plants that I would grab from like the dead plant pile or like the really bad looking plant pile. Yeah. And I'd go home and I'd resuscitate them and I'd like bring them back to life and shit. And I just really miss those days. It was I feel like everyone needs a yard, you know, or like everybody needs at least some herbs and some like air plants, stuff to make you feel like a human being like in nature as opposed to like stuck in your weird little living box, you know.
I accomplished that by just having 3 cats.
Welcome to the jungle, baby. I would show you my cat. She's around here somewhere, but she's lounging somewhere. Keamy, you have a cat, right?
I lost it in a divorce.
Oh so.
No, I don't want to hear that. That's a terrible story.
You get visitation?
No, we didn't really divorce. We just broke up. But
yeah, I mourn for like animals that have left my life. Like I mourned for my my roommate's cat, my ex-roommate's cat, because she moved out and so her cat moved out, and like I was extremely emotional about her cat leaving because the cat would spend so much time with me, and we were living together for almost like a year and a half, 2 years or something. So that cat felt like my cat. So when she took her cat with her, I was like, I am so sad right now. Anyway. Is this a thing that only happens to like extremely emotional femme people? Because like I feel way attached to other people's pets, you know? Yeah. Like even when you like meet them on the street and you like think about them later that day and you're just like, that dog. Remember that dog we passed?
I do remember.
This is gonna be the weirdest episode to edit. I'm probably gonna like cringe at myself the whole time when I'm doing it, but I don't know. Are y'all having fun? Be honest.
Yeah, no. We're just being
time.
messy and talking about stuff, right?
We are being messy and talking about stuff. But Keamy, are you trying to do anything special with your Plantstagram, or is that just like your hobby for now?
It was just what is, and I also made a plant TikTok too to make videos, like live videos. It was honestly
plant
just
fan cam
to keep me from talking about plants all the time to like people on dates. It's like I'll just be like, "Oh, you like plants? Here's all of my plants and everything I could tell you about them. There you go."
Yeah, you have to have a place to funnel your weird hobbies so you don't freak people out, right? You got to like wait till they've dated you for a little bit and then just like unleash the weirder stuff on them.
Yeah.
But that's actually counterintuitive to what I do, which I just lay all my shit out like right up front. And it's like, if they run, they run. So that's my strategy.
Is kind of my strategy. I back when I was dating, I would just like send messages in advance of meeting someone where I would just be like, here's a bunch of fucking bullshit. And if this message throws you off, then let's not meet. Like,
yeah, seriously. I don't know. I'm so glad I don't have to date anymore though. Like I'm in a relationship. I've been in a really long, not really long. I've been in a relationship for a while now and I'm just so thankful for it because I hated dating. Dating was such bullshit. It continues to be bullshit, and I don't even know how y'all are doing it in COVID era. Like, what is that? Keamy, are you on Tinder?
No, they're out. Like I like also, I'm like the person who likes to make like applications look pretty. I know how to do that. And when I go on Tinder, it makes my heart and soul hurt because it's so hideous.
Hideous
user interface, huh?
Is ugly. No, I'm on Bumble and Hinge because they're pretty.
I don't think there's any pretty like apps out there for like what I do, what I use them for. There's no like nobody wants to make porno apps. So here I am browsing OnlyFans on fucking Google Chrome on my phone, like some kind of moron. And I'm like, where are all the good porno apps, man? Why can't we have nice things? You know why? Sesta Fosta, okay? Let me tell you, no, I'm just kidding. I was gonna launch into the whole other thing about Sesta Fosta, but I feel like I end up talking about it so much all the time that I'm becoming that person that's like policy, like fucking wonk. And I'm like, I don't want to be a fucking wonk about anything. Sesta Fosta, you know what Sesta Fosta is, right, Keamy?
Okay.
Sesta Fosta is the federal and state level sex workers, like sex trafficking bills that made sex workers' lives like crazy hard after it was passed. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to say why I can't explain it, but it rhymes with I'm totally boned right now. So I'm not going to try to go into policy talk. But do you think that'll make it past the YouTube censors? Let's hope.
Vaguely talking about why Sesta Fosta is bad seems to be okay-ish. Let's end this entire segment.
No, this is we're just being silly right now. Please nobody look at this and be like, wow, what is her fucking problem? No, I'm a stripper, I'm a dominatrix, I do online work, so I'm allowed to make these jokes with my friends. But yeah, this is a really silly segment. I love it though, and I'm so glad y'all are here with me. Like Danielle is here and she's here a little bit early. So I think what I want to do is go ahead and y'all can give your plugs on whatever you want to plug, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring Danny in.
Yeah, you should. It's about that time anyway.
Mm-hmm. So Keamy, we'll start with you. What would you like to plug on the show?
Okay, cool. Well, I want to say thank you for having me on. This is really fun. and I was really nervous, so I'm glad it went well.
Mm-hmm.
I put my username here. That's me on Instagram and TikTok. And my username on Twitter is comedic_sans. So check it out. On TikTok, I make a lot of comedy videos, thirst traps, and just general queer education kind of videos. So yeah, definitely check it out. Instagram is just photos and promo.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And next time we'll have a much more less ridiculous conversation to have with you because yeah, we'll hang. Kennedy, what would you like to plug?
Nah.
Nothing. You're in it for love of the game.
I mean, if you're watching this, you probably are already subscribed to Not Safe Media on YouTube. If you're not, YouTube/C/Not Safe Media, where you can get not just this show, but many great shows. Some of which feature me, some of which don't. Also, I will just say this. Grav will be mad at me if I never plug Sentai Truther Club. So Sentai Truther Club is a podcast that I do with Grav about the Power Rangers. It's super fun. Sentai Truther on Twitter. Check it out. It's just a really good, if you just want like a break from the horrors of politics and you want some like kind of casual comedy from me and Grav about Power Rangers, a show that a lot of us grew up on, that's a good time.
Hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. We were fighting for control there, Kennedy.
I was just trying to get myself down. I was like, I'm going to get myself out of here.
Yeah, I was going to mention, like, yeah, the Sentai Truthers podcast is really, really fun. I was on it for, like, I think the fourth episode, and I got to watch a bunch of episodes, and I grew up with Power Rangers, so it was really, really fun. So go check them out. I listen to y'all on Spotify, and I love it. I love that everything is available on Spotify now. But thank you guys so much. And I would love to have both of you back again very, very soon. Have a great evening. Okay. Yeah. Bye. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our next guest tonight. She's joining us all the way from Gainesville, Florida. Please give it up for Danny.
Hey!
We're doing this now. This is the way.
I had this on in the background because I'm like also doing work. I've been hustling all day, and then all of a sudden I was like hearing you sign off, and the other people I was like, "Oh shit, it's me! I gotta get
yeah, yeah." I saw you like doing some kind of like talking very forcefully to someone. So I hope that you got your point across because it looked like.
Oh no, it's good. You know, just getting ready for all of the election work, and I'm like planning this big event down here, and like I always have 1,000 things to do. So
right, you're always you're just like me. We're both perpetually busy people. That's why I've always liked you. So every time I've run into it's been like, oh my god, we gotta hang out, and then it's like we'll see each other 2 months later, like, great catching up with you, gotta hang out. And it's like we just have one of those friendships where it's like we catch up and it's like nothing ever happened, and we're just like continuing, like, you know, just to hang. Like
I always feel perpetually guilty because I feel like I'm one of those people who's always like, oh my god, let's catch up, and I like never do anything. So lately, like my thing I've been doing is just like I text people I really care about, and I'm just like so to text like, oh my god, hi, I love you, and then like that's it. But then it's just like, by the way, I'm thinking of you, sorry I have no time because I'm super busy, but like hearts.
Yeah, I part of my resolution this year was to be a better friend. And so I was like, I've been trying to do the thing, like when I say, okay, we'll hang out, we'll definitely hang out, even if I'm not like super feeling it, you know, because it's just like, I'm more introverted. I love canceling plans. I love not, it's like that John Mulaney bit, like but it feels amazing as an adult for someone to be like, I'm actually not feeling great. You want to reschedule? And you're just like,
that's like my favorite thing ever most of the time. I'm like, yeah.
When other people cancel plans, and you're like, thank God I could just stay home. Fuck yeah.
Yes.
So Danny, we know this, but I just want to tell like the audience or whoever's here watching from the various platforms. So Danny and I know each other from Gainesville, Florida. I used to live there for a long, long time before I moved to Atlanta. And Danny's always been kind of you've been in the activist community for a long, long time. I was very much on the tertiary, those groups, on the kind of fringy, barely, and barely political at that time. But can you tell us like what you're doing now in Gainesville for your work?
Yes. Also, I'm just like laughing because I'm seeing that there's an Alachua County Labor Coalition sign behind me, which is totally by chance. Like, I don't actually work with the Labor Coalition, but they like put me up in this office and I closed the door. So like, hey, like join your local union and stuff. Like,
yeah, nice.
Right?
We love a good union. Yeah, we love a good union around here. Oh, yeah. I have like the police. I have like our abolish the police sign for DSA in the corner right there. I'm gonna go grab it. Hang on a second.
Yeah, grab it. Yes. I wish I had like some of my signs. Yes, abolish police. That's what's up.
You say abolish police?
Yes. I'm gonna put the camera on my friend Kodak, who's here with me. We were just doing some work on an event, but he saw the sign and he thought it was really cool. So I figure let him.
Follow me on Instagram. Well, no, my Instagram has been locked, so never mind.
Oh, he's in Instagram jail. So.
Oh,
they stole his page. Never mind. The police stole his page, so let's abolish them.
Oh my God. Yeah, fuck 12.
But you asked what I'm up to currently. Wait, I forgot the question. Was it how did I get involved in activism or what am I up to currently?
What are you up to currently? I was just kind of trying to provide a little bit of background about how we knew each other.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, we reconnected when we were both down in Asilla together, protesting at the ICE detention camp. That was a weird day.
Yeah. Can I just describe this? So I haven't seen Rah Rah. I think the last time I saw you was when I stayed with you in Atlanta for like a day. Remember when I came in?
Oh, yeah.
And that was like 2 years ago. And I hadn't seen you since. And you still had long hair there and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I went up to Asilla for this protest. And I'd been there for a few hours. And all of a sudden, like this person caught my attention. Like, I just see their stature and stuff. I was like, that looks just like my friend Rah Rah. And then also it's really difficult because when people are all wearing masks, like you can't necessarily like
it's
all and you kind of like don't want to be a creep and stuff. And I was like, did I come up to you? And I was like, Rah Rah. But that was awesome running into each other. And reconnecting and whatnot, because I always feel like you said we've always been cool. Like we might not always like catch up all the time, but once we see each other, it's like no time has passed.
Yeah, and I love that I love that we're kind of like in the same circles again. That makes me really happy because you always just seemed like such a cool, like really committed activist and organizer. And that's why I was really stoked that you said you would come on because I know you're doing a lot of work right now with like defund projects or rather abolition projects, and that's like your main area of interest. You sent me along a link that was about the Alachua County COVID-19 bond fund that I guess you are a member of this bond fund.
Yeah. So what it kind of like sucks too, because I'm like, oh, we're an abolitionist, but it's a bond fund, which just to like put people on like what that means and stuff. So I am a prison abolitionist. I don't believe that there should be jails or prisons. We can totally envision a world where there's no jails and prisons. Anybody who's watching who's like new to abolition, I know like the first thing is they're like, what about the rapists and the murderers? Like majority of people who are in prison are not rapists and murderers. We're not gonna like give that any mind. Right. Oh, that's cool. We're not like entertaining that conversation at all. And at the end of the day, most of what puts people in jails and prisons is like lack of resources and opportunities in their community. And so people are not in jails and prisons because they're bad people. People are in jails and prisons because they're fighting poverty, they're fighting addiction, they're fighting mental health. And if we can pour more money into those resources rather than incarcerating people, we wouldn't have a need for jails and prisons, period. But the reason why I was bringing that up in terms of like being in contention with running a bond fund is like, abolitionists, we don't like want to work with people in the system. So a lot of times there's a lot of local bail funds and we'll post people's full bail. And then that way, once they go to court, we can get that money back and it's like a revolving bail fund. The reason why we have a bond fund here in Alachua County is because we have outrageous bonds. They are like some of the highest bonds I've ever seen, just for some of the most
in Florida or in the country.
In Florida, even just like the bonds are outrageous up here. There's charges, like I'll see it in other counties that I know if that charge was in Alachua County, it would be so much more. We bonded somebody out this summer who got a $10,000 bond for misdemeanor misuse of 911. It was a man who was like having mental health issues and like kept calling 911 about his dog, and they put him in jail on a $10,000 bond. So it's just like it is a misdemeanor charge. So
oh my God.
It's just like outrageous. So, you know, with, like I said, a lot of bail funds are revolving bail funds. But, you know, they're posting the full bail. A lot of times those are $5,000 and under. But sometimes some of the lowest bails that we even see in Alachua County are $10,000. And we can't post that full amount. So we end up working with bondsmen to post the bond, even though we're not getting that money back, just because we're actually helping to free more people. But then we also have like simultaneous campaign to work to like abolish the cash bail system. But until then, we still got people struggling and suffering. We got to help them. So,
yeah. So when you say you're working towards that goal of abolishing like bail fund, at what level would you have to fight that? I mean, if you're just trying to get like, could you just get it like county-wide? Is that what you're aiming for? Or are you looking for more like on the state or federal level?
We're definitely just fighting it in the county right now. You know, with the carceral system, it's just like so many bits and pieces that you can like dive into and like who has decision-making power. So one of the things is like attacking what the bond schedule looks like. So in each like circuit, you know, in a county, like a county might have a particular bond schedule that's set for like certain types of charges where people automatically have a bond. But our bond schedule only addresses misdemeanor charges here in Alachua County and not any felony charges. So that's like kind of one thing. And, you know, I think we're still trying to figure it out, like why our bonds are so high, but it just kind of feels like, well, that's what it's always been. So like whatever, the new judge comes in and like, they're like, all right, that's what we set bonds at. They're just all super high and there's really no reason for it. And then like, you know, I'm sure anybody who's familiar with this type of work or you yourself even, like, there's no reason for cash bail. Like there's no, like, the idea behind bail is like, okay, like let's say I get arrested and the judge gives me a $10,000 bond. He's like, all right, well, $10,000 is how much I feel like it's going to ensure you're going to come back to court. But like empirical data actually shows that that's like not true. It has nothing to do with like how much money you put up. It has to do with like your access to transportation and like other resources. Do you have a cell phone? Do you have somebody like following up to remind you about these things? Like, has nothing to do with like how much money you put up. So there's no actual correlation between like people paying bond and actually coming back to court. So it's dumb and we need to abolish it because it doesn't actually even make sense.
That is a lot to take in.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I like ramble. I'm like,
no. Like that. I didn't mean it that way. I was just like, it's always just so staggering to me. And it's as someone who, you know, I try to pay attention to like prison reforms and defunding efforts and stuff like that because it's important to me and abolition is important to me too. But it's like, it really is the more you examine the system, the more those contradictions are laid bare. It makes it so much more difficult to defend it in any kind of sense. Like it just needs to all be built up from scratch because there's so much wrong with it, right? And you actually experienced firsthand with someone you were helping the unfairness of the system. You staged what was a 16-hour protest when someone wasn't released on bail because of a clerical error. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I'm like laughing because I feel like you're gonna like, I just kind of briefly dropped you that article, but I feel like when I tell you the story, you're just gonna think it's so funny. But basically, like one thing I do not tolerate is like disrespect. Like I'm just not with it. Like, and one thing that I've noticed, like working with people who are incarcerated, and you know, my boyfriend's currently incarcerated in the jail, is like when you have a loved one who's in the jail for some reason, like people just think that means like you're dumb and like you're from like the like you're the scum of the earth and you just, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't have any respect for you. They just think like you're stupid, you know what's going on. And like, that's not me. I know my shit. And I'm honestly like getting up in those people's face all the time at the jail. They really don't like me. They like try to deny me visits all the time. Like they like come up with dumb shit. They'll be like, your pants are tight. I'm like, I wore these pants last week and you didn't think they were tight, so you're done. Anyway, like
tight pants is what they'll stop you from entering if you're wearing tight pants.
Yeah, they'll be like, your pants are too tight. I'm like, I've literally worn, this happened to me. So I did a protest at the jail because, and then I'll get back to the question you actually asked me, but over the summer, we caught wind that the jail here in Alachua County actually kept somebody a month after their release date because of a clerical error. And in that time, he caught COVID-19 and actually almost lost his life and had to get transported to the hospital. So we ended up staging a protest at the jail because, you know, it's bullshit. They're not testing people for COVID upon arrival. The reason that there was even an outbreak of COVID in the jail is because they had originally been quarantining people for 14 days before putting them in the general population, but then they stopped doing that and they quarantined this guy for 7 days and put him in the general pop, and he ended up being COVID positive. And so once they did that, he spread it to all these people in the jail. So like they weren't giving not inmates, I don't use that word. They weren't giving our incarcerated loved ones masks inside the jail. So it was like all this stuff that was going on. So I staged this protest and like we went out there with a megaphone. We were like, we're here for you. Like we support you. You're like demanding answers. And then my next visit that I went into after that, like literally before I could even pull out my ID, I was like barely through the door. They're like, Miss Shenzes, we can't let you visit today. And I was like, why not? They were like, your pants are, or they're like, your clothes is too form fitting is what they said. I was like, my shirt, because I've like they've said stuff to me about my shirt before. They'll come up with some like bullshit, even though it was a t-shirt. But I've never had an issue with my pants before in like almost 2 years visiting in the jail. And so I was like, my shirt? They're like, no, your pants. I was like, they weren't too form-fitting when I wore them on Friday or the other 45 times I've worn them here. Like I come here twice a week for well over a year. And I only own like 3 pairs of pants. I wear these all the time. But they like did not visit and I couldn't go in. So it's like they do like this like retaliatory stuff.
It's so gross. That's so disgusting.
It is. But back to like what you're saying. So this is actually the second time that there was a clerical error. And then I just told you like this other guy ended up getting sick with COVID. So they'll have these clerical errors and they'll just be like, it's no big deal. Like whatever, they can just stay in jail an extra day or 2. And it's like, no, jails are fucking horrid, wretched places. They can't just stay here. That's not okay.
Yeah.
And then I told you I like don't really care for disrespect. So what happened with this guy is his girlfriend reached out to the bond fund for help. And like I'm going to use a few technical terms, but I'll try to break them down. Okay. So you had a sworn complaint for like a year. So sworn complaint is like if you have some sort of like somebody writes up, like it's not necessarily like somebody writes it up, but like maybe like the issue, like the police like basically write up some sort of probable cause for like some sort of crime has been committed. So there was a sworn complaint on file for like a year. And then the state finally decided to file charges on it. And that's known as filing information. So when you file information, like a lot of time, like let's just say I got arrested on the street. I could be arrested on the street on a sworn complaint, but they can't keep me in the jail for more than 40 days without filing formal charges, which is called filing information. But you can file information past the 40 days. You just can't detain somebody in the jail for more than 40 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Charges. So anyways, he had never gotten arrested. They just had this sworn complaint open on him. The sworn complaint originally had like 8 charges on him, but the state filed information on 4 of the charges. But when the judge issued the arrest warrant, he only issued an arrest warrant on 3 of the charges, which we didn't like, you know, I didn't know all this. It was like kind of in the back end. So when we got contacted by the girlfriend, we looked up his case. We're like, okay, he's got these 3 charges here. This is the money we can put up. We work with a bondsman. And we were like, great, we paid the bond to get him out. Whenever we do this stuff, like we always go up to the jail to greet the person when they get out. So we went up there about 10 p.m. He was supposed to be out around midnight when we were waiting for him. About midnight, I get a call from the bondsman, and the bondsman's like, hey, they're not releasing this young man. And I was like, why not? And basically what the jail said was like, well, the state filed information on 4 charges, but the judge only issued an arrest warrant on 3. But we think he meant to issue a 4th arrest warrant, so we're going to keep him until we hear from the judge. And I'm like,
they think? What?
I was like, y'all are not the fucking judge, and you have no ground here. Like, you have an arrest warrant for 3 charges. You can only hold him on those 3 charges he has a warrant for, and we paid the bond on that. So you have no, like, I feel like what you're doing is illegal. You're legally holding somebody. So
yeah, absolutely. God, that is so barbaric. It's so ridiculous. Like the fact that you even know all of your rights and like everything that's supposed to happen, and you still can't get done what needs to be done. It's just so indicative of a rotted, bloated ass system that's so unfair and stressful. I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. That is like awful.
It's like, okay, but like that's also part of, you know, some of the work that I'm trying to do is like let people know, because those people at the jail, like they'll push you. You know, I've had things over there where I have to be like, hey, I need to get this paperwork. They'll be like, we'll call you when it's ready. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll sit here and y'all let me know when you get it ready. Because I now know they'll like get it. So they want me out of their hair. Or I'll call up and find some information. They're like, we can't tell you that. I'm like, is that not public information? And they're like, well, it is. I'm like, okay, great. Then you can tell me. So like, you know, sometimes you just have to push people, and then a lot of times the people who work there are not even trained. Like I call it there, whenever I get like somebody who's high up, like a captain or a lieutenant, I'm like, I don't know who runs y'all's training program, but you need to revamp that shit, because literally no employee got the same training. I hear a different story from people all the time.
Right.
But
it's almost like these funds aren't going to the places they should be going.
Exactly. So what ended up happening is I was like really pissed that they were holding this guy. And so I went and I walked up to the call box and I was like, hey, can I speak to the sergeant? They were like, yeah, we'll send the sergeant right out. And I waited like 20 minutes because I basically was going to be like, this is bullshit. You have no like legal standing to hold this guy and you need to release him because this is illegal. And I waited like 20 minutes and he didn't come out. So then I called again. I was like, hey, I'm out here. I'm waiting. And I need to speak to the sergeant. What you guys are doing is illegal. And the guy on the other end of the phone was like, the sergeant's not coming out here. And he hung up the phone on me. So my stubborn behind. Exactly. I was like, fuck y'all. I'm going to wait out here until you talk to me. And I grabbed a lawn chair out of the trunk of my car and I opened it up and I sat it in front of the lobby. And this was at like midnight. And I sat there all night, and it was like kind of funny because I've like not pulled an all-nighter in so long, and like not to be inappropriate, but I definitely have not pulled an all-nighter where I wasn't doing like cocaine or something forever, like in 10 years. I was kind of like sitting there thinking like, you know, they're gonna just talk to me. Nobody came out to speak to me until 8 a.m. So I sat there all night. And then like in the morning, the captain came out and he was like, hey, ma'am, like, how can we help you? And I was like, it's about time somebody came out here. I've been here all night. They were like, yeah, we rolled back the cameras. I was like, yeah, I think it's 10 p.m. Y'all fuckers. And then I like explained to them the situation. I was like, this is illegal. You guys need to release this man. Like, this is outrageous. Like, oh, we're going to fix it, this and that. We're going to get him out in an hour. Like 2 hours went by and I was like, what's going on? Like, you guys said you're going to have him out, because I stayed there. I was like, I'm not leaving until you release.
It's like, what are you doing in there? Why are you so busy?
And they were like, oh, well, we couldn't get in touch with the judge, so we're just going to first appear him tomorrow and resolve this issue. I was like, no, you're not first appearing it tomorrow. You better fix this shit now. And then like finally, like 3 p.m., they got him out. So basically that sergeant disrespected me and wouldn't come speak to me. So I just was being super stubborn. And I like, it was like not a planned protest. I just like ended up sitting there all night. And
that's very powerful shit though, because it's like you were just so fed up with the whole thing that you're like, you know what, direct action time. I'm just gonna sit here and make them uncomfortable and just make it so that they cannot ignore this problem. Because who knows, if you had not sat there for that long, it could have been like a couple more days, right? Mm-hmm. Like it could have been more than that if they just didn't prioritize it, right? And it's like, y'all have one job, and it's to process people. Mm-hmm. One job. You're not a guard. You're not like, you have to sit there and you have to process people.
You're not allowed to be like, oh, like, we think the judge meant to do this. Like, what do you mean you think the judge meant to do that? That's ridiculous.
so bureaucratic and stupid. Like,
so,
and I swear I've never met, like, it's like bureaucrats like pride themselves on how long shit takes to get done. It's like, yeah, we got to go through the proper channel.
Wait, like, look at all this extra red tape we added. Isn't this awesome? Like, yeah, I know this was already difficult, but look, we've added even more red tape. Like,
yeah. It's so much more fun now. Like, don't you love paperwork?
The funny thing was, like, when it hit like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., because I was totally not prepared for an all-nighter. Like, I was not thinking it was going to be that type of situation. I was like, damn, I'm so tired. I was like,
did anyone bring you like a Red Bull or like food or something?
No, because like nobody really knew I was doing it. It happened at like midnight. So a lot of people are asleep. So I was going live on Facebook and I was like typing into all these group chats and stuff. But then all of a sudden at like 8 a.m, then all of a sudden my friends started like, oh my God. And then at like 8 a.m, like my friends bought me bagels and stuff. But I just like toughed it out. But when it hit like 3, 4 a.m, I was like, damn, I'm so tired. And there was like part of me, I was gonna be like, man, I should just leave. And then I was like, no, that would be super dumb that I just sat here for 3 hours and left. I was like, I'm committed. I have to stay.
Yeah. You gotta see it through. Well, listen, if this ever happens to you again, and if anyone out there, if you find yourself in this situation, send me a DM. And if you have to be outside of jail for a long time and you don't have anything to eat, I'll send you a pizza. Just send me a picture, like send me a video of you at whatever jail you're at. I'll send some pizza and a 2-liter soda to you for you and whoever is sitting with you. Because that's like, it's so okay. Next time, if this happens again to you, I don't care what time of night it is, call me.
Just like we'll just set up like a hotline, like lastminutejailprotest.com, like get a pizza and a 2-liter.
Yeah. There's got to be like a Telegram group or something where it's just like a bunch of weirdos just like waiting to send pizza to people. Like,
yes, I love that.
That's got to be a thing already. We'll figure it out. We should set that up ourselves. Damn.
I love it. Great idea.
So when I last was in Gainesville, or actually no, when you were in Atlanta, hanging out with me for a day, you were working on some project called Unfuck the Environment, and I forget which group that was through. But what happened with that? Was that part of your job, or were you a volunteer on that campaign?
That was part.
And which org was it out of?
Sorry, can you repeat that part?
Which organization did you operate that project out of?
Yeah, so that was when I worked at We Are Neutral, which is an environmental nonprofit here in Gainesville that does carbon offsetting. And I'm really proud. They actually still run this campaign, which is cool. You can go, they have like a website, unfucktheenvironment.com, and you can order a t-shirt.
It's literally called Unfuck the Environment?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And so you order a t-shirt that says Unfuck the Environment. And so I always like say this, my boss who worked, she's still the executive director at We Are Neutral, but I always like laugh because she was like a goody two-shoes stuff. And I'm always like the radical, like go against the grain. I was like, no, Anna, fuck this. Like people are fucking up the climate and they need to unfuck it. And I like totally, push for this campaign. And so I'm really proud they still run it. And so We Are Neutral does carbon offsetting. And so when you buy a t-shirt, it's made out of, I can't remember. I know I did the research for it, but it's like, it's a really
bamboo.
It's like an eco-conscious like material and whatnot, like sustainable material. And then every time you purchase a shirt, We Are Neutral offsets like 1 ton of carbon emissions. So that's like kind of the whole thing is like, helping to offset all of the carbon emissions that are going into the atmosphere because of all the bullshit we do. So.
Yeah, I remember I think have the shirt that you gave me to Unfuck the Environment. Yeah, you gave me a shirt and a sticker. I had it on my old laptop. Now it's going to go to some kid in Gwinnett County because I'm donating my old laptop to a laptop drive. But a part of me wanted to rip off all my stickers from my laptop and save them all. But I was like, nah, someone will enjoy them.
Yes.
Don't you hate that? That's the one thing about getting, like, I'm a sticker freak. Like, I love a good sticker. I used to be obsessed with them when I was a kid. But it's like, when you put them on stuff, you have to be like, am I going to have this shit for a while? Like, am I going to, like, you want to put it on something that you're going to have for a minute? I don't know if you're a sticker girl or not. Yeah.
Yes. That's what tattoos are, right? They're just like stickers that you have on your body forever. You're just like, yes.
Oh my God. I'm such a bimbo that I'm like, oh my God, yes. Tattoos are permanent stickers.
Yes.
I have the worst California like Valley Girl accent, and I don't like. I get it from my dad because he grew up in California, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry for anyone that has to listen to me right now. I'm just like too hyped on rosé.
I'm right there with you, and then it's like really funny. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of my friends make fun of me because of just like a lot of the work that I am doing out in the community. I definitely code switch like a motherfucker, and then like people be like, "Who is just speaking?" And then I'm like, "Okay, but like people don't really tend to understand me necessarily, like when I'm not speaking their language out here, like so."
Right.
Work out in certain communities, like I definitely code switch a lot, and then like people like, that was weird. You do not talk like that, and I'm like, whatever.
See, when I get drunk, I start sounding way more Pacific Islander, and I almost start falling into the slang, and I've done it a couple times. And people have been like, wait, what does that mean? And I'm like, it's just some like obscure, stupid, like inside joke that me and my like Guam friends had or something. Or it's like some really dumb, like play on words in Chamorro. And I'll just repeat it. And I'll be like, oh yeah, nobody knows the fuck I'm talking about. But when I'm sober and I'm like nervous, I just fall straight into the Valley Girl accent. And I don't fucking know why, because I grew up my whole life on an island, so I'm like not sure why I have that fucking accent. But when I met you, I thought the same thing. I was like, what the fuck? What's going on here?
That's so funny. I'm crying. I feel like people meet me, and then it's like really funny because of the work I do, and then like a lot of times like I get calls from the jail nonstop because just to go into a little bit more of the abolition work I do, I help with the Freedom Fund. I help people fight their cases. So I work in conjunction with a lot of times people like public defenders and help come up with strategies for mitigation, or, let's like strategizing even stuff like to bring in a trial. Like, okay, well, we were looking over the discovery. I had a situation a few months ago where I was working with this one public defender essentially, and she was, not, even though she was like, I feel like, so I was working with this mom, her son was in the jail. He's been in there for over a year on a violation of probation. The attorney's like, listen, I don't think your son did this shit, but like, because it's a VOP, which VOPs, if y'all don't know, VOP is a violation of probation, but the threshold for VOPs is like much less than a new crime. So let's just say if I was like, you committed this crime over here, like I have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you did it. If I accuse you of a violation of probation, it's kind of just like, rather than scoring a touchdown, you just got to get the ball to the 51-yard line. Like, yeah, you probably did this, or like, yeah, you were probably just like in a place you shouldn't have been and you got the situation, and that's a violation. So the attorney was just like, I don't think your son did this, but like he has his VOP and I think he's going to lose the VOP and he's facing life on this charge. Like, I think he should just take this 7-year plea deal. And it's like, what?
Oh my God.
But then me and this mom, we sat down, we like broke through all the discovery, and we're like, well, listen, they're saying this, but like there's a contradiction. Then we sat down with the attorney for like 2 hours and we were showing her all this stuff that we'd done. And she was like, all of a sudden went from like, your son should take the plea deal to like, I'm ready to go to trial and beat this. Like, we can do it, So I help people a lot with that work. So people like kind of like tend to know who I am. Like, they'll know my name and stuff. Just like, not like, oh, I'm all that, but like, a lot of people who end up facing charges, they might hear of me. And then like they'll give me a call and I'm like, hi, this is Danielle.
Hi.
I called the right person. Is this the girl who, and then like on top of that, my boyfriend's currently incarcerated. He's from, kind of an underserved community out in Gainesville. And he's also been like DOC for 12 years. He definitely like,
wow,
and stuff like that. So I think people like hear him, and then sometimes they'll meet me and they're like, you were not who I was expecting to be this like dude's girlfriend at all. That was just not what I was picturing. You guys are very weird, odd couple. I'm like, I'm aware.
I mean, wait, okay, so this is going to be turned into a podcast episode. So I just want everyone listening for the podcast episode to know that Danielle's not white. That's why this is so funny. I'm like, I should have pointed that out right away for people that are going to be listening to this later and not watching it. But this conversation is hilarious because if you're listening, you're like, what are they talking about? And we're laughing because Danielle sounds like the whitest white chick that's ever.
I also look super white with this
tan in a tanning bed. You do look a little, no, but you look, I mean, I would say you just look a little bit more like light skinned. Like, I was discussing this with a friend of mine before. I've always been really self-conscious about being like really light skinned, really white passing. And just, you know, how that feels sometimes where you feel like you're just like not POC enough, right? And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never thought you were just white. And like I clocked you as by POC as soon as I saw you. And I was like one of those things where you're just like, thank you so much. Like,
yes. So,
thank you. So validated.
On the podcast, I'm very white passing, I'll admit. But I'm Dominican. But it is really funny because, like, even though I have this blonde hair now and I feel like it makes me look way more white. Like,
not the way you're wearing it. The high pony is very Islander.
Yes.
Yeah.
So most of the time though, people will ask me like, oh, you're mixed. Like nobody ever thinks I'm just white. They'd be like, you're mixed. I'm always like, well, even though I look pretty white, most people know I'm not like white American. They know I'm mixed with something. So I'm Dominican, but also I'm like white passing. And a lot of people, like, in case you don't know, like many Dominicans are like really dark, like pretty much majority Dominicans are black. So people always are just like, you don't look Dominican. I'm like, oh, because I don't look like a plantain. That I don't look Dominican. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, like, yeah, no, I hate that too. Like, people will meet me and they're like, you don't look Pacific Islander. I'm like, how the fuck would you know? Like, I start getting defensive about it. Like, excuse me? I think I would know better what that looked like. And yeah, like I look at least, like I used to get, when I was younger, and I still get it sometimes. People used to think I was Filipina. And yeah, like, but it doesn't really happen as much in like Florida or Georgia. There's just like not as many Pacific Islanders. You know, it like the diaspora for that region is much more on the West Coast, like much more on the coasts, basically. So I don't get clocked as Filipina here, but I do get like, people are like, oh, you're Eastern European, and it's just like, what? It's like, no.
I just have to say, like, it's really funny. People a lot of times think it hasn't happened in a while, but people used to always think I was Filipina and stuff. And like one time I remember I talked to this guy and like we ended up like connecting after a few years. The first time we met, he was like, oh yeah, you were that like cute Asian girl I met at UF. And I was like, not quite. But I was like, but I'm not Asian.
I used to say before I was much more educated about like what my actual ethnicity was and like where we fit in this, you know, in the categorization, I guess. I used to be like, yeah, I'm Asian Pacific Islander because I was like, yeah, well, it's the region, it's Oceania, right? And then I was like, well, I stopped saying that really quickly, but the few people that remember me saying that are like, oh, I love Asian, like immediately go to like fetishization about it. Like, and they just be like, oh, I love Asian chicks. And they would like fetishize me as an Asian woman, even though I'm not Asian. I think one of my grandma's, my great grandma's parents is like Chinese, but like that doesn't obviously count because we're not doing like blood quantum shit, right?
Yeah.
But like, it was just so weird because it's just like, okay, you are like fetishizing me as an Asian woman, and I don't even look like the Asian woman you're trying to fetishize. Like, I don't look Japanese or Korean or Chinese at all. And yet that is in your head what you want to now categorize me as and fetishize me as. Very strange stuff. Has anyone ever like gotten it wrong with you and like just like went with it?
I feel like probably, yeah, but also I feel like that was like in my younger years where I just like didn't care, like, because I was just like trolling people. Like if like I told somebody my name and like they forgot it and they'd be like, what's your name again? And I would just like tell them another name or like whatever. Oh, right. You're like Asian, right? I was like, oh yeah, totally. Like my great grand like that, like just when I was like in that phase of my life of like, I'm just gonna troll you because I don't care.
No, I'm like that a lot too, because obviously I'm in customer service. I have to talk to dudes all day. And sometimes I'm just too lazy to like tell them my entire life story. You're just like, yeah, I'm Hawaiian, sure. Like, Yeah, I'm Samoan, just like The Rock. Yeah, totally. Like, because I'll just say Pacific Islander, and they're like, "Oh, like what?" And you're just like, nobody knows who Chamorro people are. Like, we're
that's like just like I don't even like really care to get into it a lot of times, but like just people in general who don't recognize like the that there's all these Latin American and like Hispanic countries, and we're all really different. And then like specifically because I'm Dominican, you know, majority of Spanish speaking countries are in Central and South America. There's only a few in the Caribbean, and like Caribbean customs, culture, and even the way we speak Spanish is like so different than Central and South American. So there's like people will be, I don't like spicy food, for example. I hate spicy stuff. Like I can't, like I'm a super wimp. And then I'll be like, no, I don't like spicy food. They're like, I thought you were Spanish. And then first of all, I'm like, I speak Spanish. I'm not from Spain, so that's ignorant as hell.
You say gracias, not gracias.
I'm from Caribbean Spanish. Like I'm from Dominican Republic. Like we're a Caribbean country. We love plantains and mangoes. Like you're thinking of like not my country.
Thinking of paella and colonizer settler states.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, but people have this like just generalized, like, oh, if you're this one thing, like you're just, oh, one size fits all. You're Asian.
You're like Asian, Latina. And it's like all together they come up with like the fetishization Captain Planet, like, like the really racist Captain Planet. Yeah, no, that was like, that's always a weird thing because like people don't specifically fetishize me. Well, they don't do it for Asian anymore because I don't say I'm like Asian Pacific Islander. I once I realized that how wrong that was and how like miscategorized I was like, oh no, I'm going to be more specific about it. But the problem with being specific about your ethnicity as a mixed person is that you have to have these long-winded conversations about who you are to any fucking interested party because apparently you just have to explain your ethnicity to people. So fucking annoying. But I'll be like, yeah, I'm Pacific Islander, and people will be like thinking they're clever, like which one? And I'll tell them I'm like, I'm from Guam, I'm Chamorro. And they'll do that whole thing where they're just like, they'll realize they don't know anything about anything, and they're just like, oh, and then you have to explain further so that you don't misrepresent your people. Like,
I love this too. I was having a conversation with my friends this week about like one, because on it, it's like really weird. I feel like I very much have this reputation for being like a really nice person, which like I do think I'm really nice and I always want to help people, but I also feel like I'm a dick. Like there's a certain shit that I'm like not into. And I was telling her like how much I hate small talk because I'm like, I just hate that people feel like that I owe them my time and shit, like over shit like I know they don't care about, like just because they feel like some sort of obligation to talk to me. Just like even like people that like I'm acquainted with that they like run into me and they want to continue to have a conversation with me just like because I worked with you once 5 years ago. Like I'm like, it's cool, we can just like, oh, like we can do that, like like nod and keep it moving. Like you don't really care where I'm at. I don't really care where you're at, not to be mean, but like, you know what I'm saying? And then like, so I feel that like just in general, like that small talk thing where like you said, then it's all like this giant conversation. It's like, dude, you're a stranger.
Yeah.
You really
it's like,
don't care. And now you're like
at me for this because this is taking up time. Like
exactly.
Like I have a whole spiel, like I have a whole PowerPoint presentation mentally to explain to people my ethnicity and how my family got to Guam and my whole freaking family history starting with my grandparents. And I'm like, I have to do this every time I meet somebody new and they're just curious about me. It's like, no, I need to be much meaner to people. I'm working on it.
Yeah, you need to like shut that down.
I'm learning how to shut it down very quickly because it is so damn annoying. And nobody has time for that anymore. I don't have time for this shit, you know?
Or you need to just like come up with like some like really bizarre out there like backstory that doesn't take that long. They just like for like you just like definitely don't give a shit about. And then if they like end up
like someone I never want to talk to ever again, I can just be like, cool, I got the story in the chamber, like ready to go. Like
yeah, exactly. Just like get it there, like have it in the arsenal to like, get that shit out of the way. You're not taking up like. Because like at the end of the day, that's like labor, right? That's like emotional.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
like a lot of.
It's like my time is money, baby. Like I've got a freaking to-do list, like 30 items long every day. Like I need, if you want to continue this conversation, fucking pay me, bitch. Sorry, that was a stripper in me that jumped out. It gets ugly sometimes.
I love it.
But Danny, thank you so much for speaking with me. We have Kat here from Dark that I wanted to bring on an interview. But do you want to do any plugs for anything going on before I bring her on and take you off?
I am just gonna plug. I know this is gonna sound lame to some people, especially because I'm all like abolitionist, like anarchy. But you know what? Like everybody needs to go out and vote, even though like fuck voting sometimes. Like stay organizing, doing that shit. But also, this is something I struggle with a lot personally, because I'm just like ready for the armed revolution is like in my force. But when we vote, honestly, we're protecting some of our most vulnerable community members. So like vote, even though like everybody's shitty, like vote for what's gonna give those vulnerable community members some time and protection. And then like let's continue to organize like hell, because the election's coming up, and I just think that's really important. Like I said, I struggle with it too. I definitely don't think voting is like the end all be all, but like recognize that we are, I have friends who are DACA recipients. These people are being affected by like the policies that are in place. So it does make a difference in some ways. And then just get involved. Like that's just the one thing I tell people, man. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of calls to action. I'm a big fan of people doing what they can when they can. That's the biggest thing that an organizer's told me. Do what you can when you can. And there's so much to do that does not involve a lot of time either. So find a place to get involved. And Danny, thank you so much for being with us. I would love to have you on again for like a panel or something a little bit more lighthearted and fun where you don't have to talk about jail.
Yeah, I love it. Either way, I'm so down. This was awesome. I'm like, this was so cool. I'm down to come down anytime. Yeah. This was really cool.
All right, Danny, you have a good night.
All right,
okay.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm bringing Kat on the stream right now. Hi, Kat. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. You look so cute.
Thank you. What day is it? Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, halfway through the week. Happy about that.
And you're wearing pink, right? Is that pink?
Surprisingly, I am wearing pink, but that was not intentional.
Well, on Wednesdays we do that.
On Wednesdays we do wear pink. Yeah. But it was not intentional today.
Yeah.
Oh man, it sounds like I missed a really good what do you call it? Guess. Yeah, guess. Yeah. He's talking about jails and closing them ideally, right?
Yeah. Danny is an activist in Gainesville, Florida that I've known for years and years, and we reconnected when we were both in Acilla, Georgia, protesting the sterilization of the women there in the ICE camps. Oh. So but this episode is on Twitch in its entirety. After this episode ends, it stays on Twitch for about 2 weeks. So you can go back and watch the episode. That's also for anybody listening here. Hey, you can go on Twitch and watch the episode or listen to the episode when it comes out on the podcast level. But Kat, thank you so much for being here, comrade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Kat and I know each other from Metro Atlanta, Democratic Socialists of America, and Kat, you're still relatively new to MADSA, right? Yeah. When did you end up joining? I forget.
So I basically joined at the beginning of July, and then this campaign started near the end of July, and I got put on the campaign. So it was awesome though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was looking at the website today. I looked at it when it first came out, but then I started kind of clicking around today, just reading, and it looks gorgeous. It's so well done. I downloaded all the PDFs for the abolition workshops.
That's what we want.
Yeah, this is the kind of nerd shit I get into too. Give me a good PDF and just a rainy afternoon. I'm into it.
Yeah, education is really the first step, because I feel like when people know better, they do better. And so many people don't really know why policing as it is not okay. So
yeah, absolutely. And so I did say that you're from Dark Atlanta. Can you explain what the acronym means and what your mission is with the project?
Absolutely. So Dark, which is under the Metro Atlanta Democratic Socialists of America, which I'll be saying MADSA because that other word is a mouthful. But Dark stands for Defunding Atlanta Police Department, or APD, refunding communities. So our goal is basically to divert resources from the Atlanta police budget, which is out of control. It's one of the only budgets that increased this past year, while everyone else that got cut, their budget increased. So our goal is to kind of divert funds from the Atlanta Police Department and put it back into the community. So, one of the things that Dark has been doing over the last few weeks is we've been doing canvases. We've been talking to people in different communities, most prominently the West End community, to kind of see like, what could you be doing with the extra $15 million that, city council decided to give to the Atlanta Police Department. And you'd be really surprised by those responses. So our mission is, one, to kind of build a strong ground game, because so far when people hear defunding the police, it's not, they have so many questions. And you mentioned our website. And so our website is really geared to educate people on those myths of policing, so to speak. So we're just basically trying to go out and educate the masses and build a bigger movement to hopefully, especially within Atlanta, get some of that money out of that bloated Atlanta police budget.
$15 million. That's an aggravating amount of money.
That was just the increase, because their budget is over 200 million.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right, and that's like, so I was looking at the statistics about this on your website. On the website, it was a 6% increase in police funding from the previous year, which is such a slap in the face too, considering everything that people are going through this year with COVID and how many evictions are happening in this city, and just how dire people's circumstances are with COVID, that it really is so frustrating to see these city councils in allegedly progressive cities make these really regressive choices. And I wonder, could you explain what the basic? Okay, so let me put it this way. Would you explain what defunding actually means in policy, as opposed to just as a slogan that people hear around? They're probably wondering, like, okay, defund the police, what the hell does that mean? When we say defunding the police and refunding communities, what do you mean by that?
So it really does mean take away money, but we're not trying to take away all the money right away. We're not saying like, hey, give us all $200 million, but it's like things like, again, we threw out that $15 million number. Did the police department need that additional $15 million? Or could we have invested more into like the city infrastructure? Atlanta's pipes are really, really, really old. There's sewage issues in numerous neighborhoods. $15 million could have gone a long way to create lasting change in communities like that. So when we say defund, we hear the words like divest, eliminate. It's basically words like that. But I think the key word is like you have to put the entire phrase together, defunding the police, because people don't have issues with the word defund, right? We've defunded education for years. We've defunded recreational programs for years. So it's really just trying to reshift the focus and say, okay, we've been defunding all these other institutions for years. Well, now it's time to defund the police and refund the other resources that we've been taking money out of. So
yeah, and we have a comment from El Chicano, who we know who that is, but
I wish he could on. I love him.
Yeah, we'll have Rogelio on soon. But Rogelio's comment was defund does not mean get rid of police; it means fix our broken infrastructure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I like the defund approach as opposed to the more generalized term abolish the police, because defunding is such a actionable step to abolition. It's something that it's a goal that is in the horizon, whereas I feel like when people think of abolition and they have these giant concepts in their head of just like, well, what the hell does that look like, but I think it's important to talk about defunding first, and primarily because it gets people kind of grounded in the reality of now, which is that the police have too much money and the communities do not have enough. So that is a very simple concept to transfer over. And I think with defunding it kind of does soften the blow of what the actual goal of abolition can sound like. But what are your thoughts about the phrasing of that? Because I know other abolitionists that have an issue with defund campaigns.
Yeah. And so again, that's part of the education that Dark ATL is really trying to do is when you understand the concept, you really shouldn't fear the word or the phrase, right?
Mhm.
But it kind of just buying into what we've been taught over the last, 50 or so years about the police department or how they keep us safe, which again is not necessarily true. Statistics back that up. But at the end of the day, people are just very resistant to change and what they're not familiar with. And so the police, as has only existed for about 150 to 200 years. And even in its current form, it hasn't always existed that way. Like, we have an ultra militarized police. And in Atlanta, we saw beginning really at the beginning of the summer, police really taking out really aggressive tactics against everyday citizens, unarmed citizens, tear gas, rubber bullets, just the name at the very, very beginning. And you wonder, like, if they didn't have as many resources as they do, which could, be an overflow or surplus of resources, how better would their training really be, right? Like, if they didn't have to rely on purchasing all these weapons to use against innocent citizens every now and then. That money, right? Like, it would force them to really use the tools at their disposal and kind of make do with what they do. Again, we do it to teachers every year and take away more and more resources for them and say, hey, your budget, teachers used to get a small budget to kind of fund their classrooms for the year. That no longer exists in a lot of places. And so, but you still have teachers all around, including in Atlanta, who still kind of make do with what they have. In fact, we had a comrade a few weeks ago raise money and funds to, fund her classroom for the year. And so if we are forcing everyday citizens to do that, we should be able to ask the same of our public servants, because essentially the police is a service that we fund. So they should be working for us and not really against us.
Right, absolutely. And like both my parents are school teachers growing up. My mom still is. My dad's retired, but I remember my parents having to dig out of their own pockets to fund supplies for their students a lot of the time. And the money that they were given was just not, and it was just never enough for the class sizes they had. It was never enough for the kids in the class who did not have the supplies they needed. It really is like, I wish people would think about it more as it's not about, it's not so much about raising your taxes, for these things. Literally, you're redirecting funds that are already there.
The money's already there. And in fact, what we're trying to do is really ultimately cost saving metrics, right? When you think, I know Danielle was just talking about policing, and we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to house people in prisons. If we put just a small smidget of that money into crime prevention, we would be better off as a society. And so really that's what the defund movement is about. But I think, again, it's not just about the refunding communities, because there has to be accountability on the police for their high levels of aggression against citizens, particularly Black people, other people of color who are standing up for Black people's rights. It's just that sort of thing of where's the accountability? So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to show Rogelio's comment here. Rogelio is also in dark Atlanta, by the way. So Rogelio had some thoughts. Keisha Lance Bottom's almost largest cuts to education in past years have beefed the APD budget by 3 consecutive years. So there's been education cuts the past 10 years, and the Atlanta Police Department budget has increased for the last consecutive 3 years. And there's just no excuse. There's no excuse why this is happening.
And, KLB is Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, right? And so she is someone who depends heavily on the Black community support to get elected. And we've just seen, especially again over the summer, that once you got elected, you kind of stopped working for the people who helped get you there. So it's kind of like that accountability again. And part of it is education. Too many people just are not paying attention, or for various reasons, right? Not everyone has time to dedicate to build an entire campaign to force city council to divert resources to areas.
Also those resources are obscured from the public purposely. I mean, the whole thing about defunding education is also defunding your access to the information to do your civic duty, right? Like how many people understand how government works on a local and state level? They purposely defund these things so that they can just do whatever they want and pass whatever they want, and people won't pay attention or connect these concepts to why their communities are like falling apart, right? So then the onus is on the individual and not the institution that got them there, that failed them, right?
Right. It's always on the institution, right? Like, institutions don't form overnight. And that's why, again, when we talk about abolishing the police is an institution. Abolishing the police isn't something, like you said, isn't a short-term goal. Like, it's not gonna be November 4th. We're like, yay, no more police. Like, that's just not how things work with institutions. It takes time to dismantle them. But the defunding efforts is definitely a step forward, because one, people really don't support a lot of times what they are not really able to see. And so once we start getting more money taken away from these overinflated police budgets and start diverting them back into the community resources, we can get the data to show, like, hey, this is how many crimes were ultimately prevented in this particular area, just because we established a recreation and fully funded a recreation center in this neighborhood. So things of that nature.
Yeah. And so on your website, it explains that there's kind of like a section where it says, like, beware of police reforms, that like efforts to reform the police rather than defund them. Can you elaborate on what kind of reforms we should be, as leftists, wary of when people are, when like liberal groups or, NGOs are talking about reformation, like reforming the police?
Yeah, because again, it's the institution itself. So you're like, oh, reform the police by hiring more people who are either Black or young or from these communities to better understand. But again, if you're hiring a very few or small set and you're putting them in a majority, eventually they get tired or they start to kind of get absorbed into that majority, and the problem continues, right? Another thing is the training. And so these bias trainings, and I think that I know Atlanta has them, and other major cities also have these bias trainings. They're not really any follow-up to it. So because there's no accountability on the actions, and it's like, that's why it's like we have to be kind of going back to what I was saying about allowing forcing the police to use the resources available to them. They have a surplus of financial resources right now. And so that's why they're able to purchase weapons and not necessarily care about how effective their training is, because really they have no reason to, right? Because they're going to get more and more money anyway. And that money isn't actually going to these police officers' pockets, because they're not going to be increasing their wages. But it's like, yeah, let's get them more fancy body armor. Let's buy more fancy tanks from the United States government. Let's do things that we really have no business needing in the city. But yeah, you got to stay away from reform, because reform does not address actual root causes, right? There's always, you got to look at the patterns.
And follow the money. Right?
It's always about the money. Yeah. And so
we're doing this tonight, by the way. This is the move. I was like trying to do some like
wine when this is over.
Yeah, no, I'm like 2 wines deep right now. That's why I'm doing this.
Oh, lucky you. Yes. Yeah. I've been like running around.
That's the benefit of streaming at home. Like, check out my content cave.
I'm just
very
nice,
like, I've got like really good like bisexual lighting going on tonight.
And I really hope for people who are watching, like, please go to darkatl.com. I mean, Robert told you so many great resources. We have an awesome FAQ section that kind of walks you through with evidence. Like, it's not just me saying this because I hate the police, right? Like, no, that's not the reason. There's actual factual-based evidence supporting certain conclusions. And we just want to educate you on the movement and why it could be best for you and your communities. So
yeah, and this is also a good toolkit for any socialists or other leftists out there that are trying to talk to their more liberal friends who agree with the general messaging of like Black Lives Matter, and like the thing, like they agree that the system needs to change, at least in some form. These kits and this information will help you present those ideas to people who need like the kind of statistical evidence, basically, or just they, you know, like some people are just more pragmatic in their thinking, or come from maybe more privileged backgrounds and communities where they don't understand necessarily like the actual numbers behind it, or the actual methods of which we're trying to achieve justice for people and more freedom for everybody. So it's a good toolkit if you have a lot of liberal friends and you want to explain these concepts to them a little bit more and not rely on, you know, just like your personal feelings about it. Because as organizers, we have to have stuff to, you know, it's unfair, but we always have to have shit to back us up, right? Because we have to be the most prepared and the most informed so that we can like defend our ideas, right? And put them forth in the world. Yeah. And yeah, someone said, share with your parents. Yes. Talk to your parents.
That's another dark member. Yay.
Yeah.
And I would just say too, like, not even just for your liberal and leftist friends, like even your people in your network who, you know, like they're anti-defund the police movement. I recommend you share those resources with them because, as I mentioned earlier, like, you know, Dark has been in the community doing canvases, like talking to actual people. And I had the opportunity to talk to a guy who worked for the fire department for over 30 years. So, you know, the first thing he says to me is, I don't like the word defund the police. Like, I'm against it. And so we started a dialogue. We have a conversation. And eventually it's like, yes, actually, we need to be taking resources away from the police and, you know, putting it more into his community. Like, you know, trees, overgrown trees that are falling on people's houses. Like, our government could be paying for that and taking care of that.
Yeah.
And so, like I told him, like, the Hill, I'm not dying on the Hill. Like, you have to say defund the police, or you have to say divest resources, or you have to say reallocate. I don't care what word you use, as long as we are taking the money away from those budgets and putting them into other areas of need for the communities. So.
That's a good way to put it. And I've seen some other organizers that I really respect and admire from across the country be like, if you have to avoid the words socialism or communism or abolition to meet people where they're at, but it's the same idea, the more important thing is getting the idea into their head.
Agreed. Exactly.
Yeah, because words are like phrases like that, like especially with, you know, God knows how many decades of anti-communist and anti-socialist propaganda have been pumped into their skulls, right? Where it's like you hear those words and there's something in your brain that if you are, you know, feed into that propaganda, it like switches off and you don't hear the argument behind it because you're just stuck on the phrase or the buzzword, right? That you've been told all your life is bad. But when you present the argument like, hey, we shouldn't do no-knock raids because it violates your rights as a person, like it's dangerous. And then you can kind of like start seeding that idea into people's heads a lot easier than if you're like, well, I am a socialist and da-da-da-da. And it's like, sometimes it doesn't work, you know, especially with you're dealing with more stubborn, conservative.
Exactly. Because I mean, this is why Trump has so many fans, right? It's all about the label. They hate, you know, Democrats are a very toxic word. Leftists are even more toxic word right now, right? But it's like, it's not about the label, it's about the ideas behind it. And too often we see that these same people who, if you throw out the label, they're like, I'm so against it. But then if you throw out what the label means, they're like, actually, that's a good idea. You're like, that's where education comes into it. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Kat, I think we're going to go ahead and end the interview a little bit early and let you get back to sleep or work or whatever. Thank you. I know you had a very limited time to talk with us, so I really appreciate you coming on and explaining the campaign. I cannot wait to start canvassing with y'all. I've been really busy setting this whole thing up and all the various moving parts, other mads stuff I'm involved in, but I cannot wait to start. Yeah, I cannot wait to start working with y'all. And if you want to get involved, you're in the Atlanta area or the, you know, Atlanta metro area or whatever, go to darkatl.com. It's darcatl.com. And we got class time here by Kenzo. And Kenzo said, hammer, sickle, hammer, sickle, hammer, sickle. But yeah, that is how you get involved with us in Metro Atlanta DSA. And thank you so much for your work, Kat, on everything. And we'd love to have you on again and do something a little bit more casual and cute and fun, because all organizers deserve a little bit of fun in their life, right?
Yes, but I also want to add too, because like with Dark, you know, we've been around since the end of July, and like any campaign, there's strength in numbers. And so the more and more people that join, if you go to our website, it gives you information on how to join. We just kind of started breaking up into multiple different committees. So you don't have to do canvassing if that's not what you're into. We have a social media team. We have a research team. So definitely go to the website and see how you can get involved.
All right. Thank you so much, Kat. This has been awesome. And I will have you on for something really fun soon. Like I said, we should do like a trivia.
Hot girl agenda. I can be a hot girl.
You're already a hot girl. You're already wearing pink. Like
I'm a hot girl tonight.
You match the aesthetic. It's so funny because every girl I've had on here, every like femme person I've had on here has had like their aesthetic going. And I'm like, yes, I'm here for it. But also, if you want a Galaxy projector light, we can find somebody to buy one for you.
I like that. Plus,
aren't they cool? I'm not sponsored by them. I keep joking that I'm sponsored by them, but I'm not. But I am just such a sucker for like Instagram advertising. I bought one for like $40 and it's amazing. You should totally get one. It changes your life, honestly. And yeah, so Dark is also on Instagram as well. If you're more of an Instagram person, it's like Dark ATL.
And Twitter.
I think on Instagram. Yeah, and once we link to the podcast episode, once this goes up as a podcast, I will add all these links as well. So thank you so much, Kat, and have a great
have a good night.
Bye. Bye. Okay, cool. So that has been the Hot Girl Agenda stream. Oh, it's weird just seeing myself on now. That's strange. That has been the stream. Thank you all so much. I know it started out kind of rough. My brain is completely fried. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm completely fried from staring at a computer screen for like 8 to 10 hours a day. So if I come off a little bit strange and antisocial, oh, thank you, Rahelio. Thank you. If I come off a little strange and antisocial and scattered, it's because I am. I've been talking to very few people in real life because I'm still quarantining for the most part, except to go to work. But I've been very strange and weird and like cooped up and like missing all my friends and family and stuff. So I might be streaming more. I definitely want to do a more fun, non-political stream. That's just like me assembling my cosplays and putting together my Halloween costume for this year. So yeah, I will definitely post about that on Twitter if I do it and give you all a heads up. I like being on Twitch and I like watching people's random streams, especially the art and makeup streams. They're really fun. So I promise I'll be doing more streaming very soon. I've just been incredibly busy. And next week, we have a really, really cool episode. So we're going to have Katie Hughes on. Katie Hughes is one of my favorite comedians in Atlanta. And she is starting a Twitch stream for comedians to work out their stand-up bits live. And I'm like really, really, really excited about having her on. And I've decided now it's going to be basically a whole episode about comedy because if you've only been following me for a couple months, I actually am a stand-up comedian. I do comedy. I've been doing it for almost like 7.5 years now. And I just forgot how because of COVID. So I would like to be more included in my Atlanta comedy community again. There's a lot of people I haven't seen since before quarantine, so it's kind of crazy. But I basically just want to do more Atlanta comedy stuff and have more fun segments because it can be really serious. Like being an organizer is real serious shit, but I don't think being a streamer should be serious at all. I think it should be really fun and cool. And Kenzo said that Twitch is for the strange and antisocial, and I wholeheartedly agree. So thank you all so much. We actually almost hit 8 o'clock. So give it up for yourselves for sticking around. And thank you so much again for supporting the stream and the podcast. You can go to patreon.com/islandgoth to support me and the pod. I am going to be launching the podcast episodes very, very soon. They're just going through the whole process with Spotify and iTunes. But once they hit, I will be restructuring the Patreon tiers. So if you want to get in on the levels that won't be affected, it'll be like the $5 and $10 levels. But if you want to just kick in a couple bucks and, I'm going to make it really, really easy for y'all to get into the show and to support me, because honestly, if every single one of my Twitter followers followed me right now on Patreon for $1, I'd make $9,000 a month before taxes. I'm not saying that's what I should be making. I'm just saying that's what the numbers are. But I would like to not go to my job every day. So I would just like to have 2 jobs instead of 3. That's my goal as a podcaster and a streamer. So thank y'all so much. That was a really weird plea. Not a cry for help, more just like a plea for support. But I also just need more eyes on my content on Patreon. So I'd love to know what you think. Please go and let me know. And we have an email now. So if you have any questions and suggestions, or maybe just like a weird story you want to share anonymously, please email us at hotgirlagenda@gmail.com. Again, hotmailagenda@gmail.com. Give us some feedback. Give us some suggestions. Also, follow me on YouTube. I'm under Ra Imler. You can just Google Hot Girl Agenda YouTube. I'll be on there. Help me monetize this shit, please. Please. I don't want to be a stripper in the plague anymore. I hate it so much. It's sucking life out of me, and I'm afraid I'm going to get COVID. So if y'all could help me out with that, that'd be super dope. But yeah, I will see y'all later. Thank you so much. It's 8:00. We're going to end this broadcast. Mwah! See you next week.